What is the impact of pull-out reading interventions in elementary schools? This is the question that guided the research done. The use of reading intervention programs as pull-out programs are becoming very common in many elementary schools. Pull-out programs first began appearing in elementary schools in the 1980s. Since then, there has been many arguments and a lot of research about whether or not it is effective to be pulling students from their general classroom to do interventions. The following research emphasizes the use of pull-out programs and specifically how it is being implemented in a southeastern Minnesota elementary school. Before we get into that, let's take a minute to look at what reading intervention is and who the individuals are that implement it. According to Merriam-Webster Dictionary, an intervention is defined as to come in or between by way of hindrance or modification. A reading intervention program is one that deters or modifies student reading failure in order to prevent it from occurring or stopping it if it has already started. In most elementary schools, reading intervention programs are based on a response to intervention model or RTI model. Response to intervention is a multi-tier approach to the early identification and support of students with learning and behavior needs. Students are assessed through universal screenings and then placed into tiers, with most interventions being done at Tier 2, about 15% of students, or Tier 3, about 5% of students. In the past, reading assessments and interventions were done by Title I or Chapter 1 teachers, which are licensed elementary teachers working with small groups of students in the areas of reading and math. Although schools still have these professionals on staff, more recently a new role has appeared in elementary schools known as a reading specialist or reading interventionist. A reading specialist is a professional with master's level training in assessing, diagnosing, and responding specifically to reading disabilities, and their groups of students tend to be smaller. They make database decisions that support, supplement, and extend classroom instruction, but at a much slower pace than what a general classroom would do. So, you might be wondering, what exactly is a pull-out program? A pull-out program, simply defined, is a program in which students are pulled from the general classroom to receive support from the interventionist. This is the opposite of a push-in style of intervention in which the specialist comes into the classroom and must co-teach with the classroom teacher. Reading interventions are typically done in a pull-out style format in which students leave their classroom and go to the reading interventionist classroom. They receive one-on-one or very small group instruction in sessions that last for 25 to 30 minutes. Pull-out interventions are specifically conducive to students that have distractibility issues and are unable to focus on an intervention being done in the busy environment of their classroom. The instruction given at this time is targeted to reach specific student goals, which are determined and adjusted using progress monitoring done throughout the year. The research done on pull-out programs is extensive. Some of the more consistent findings suggest that while push-in programs can have a positive experience on students, pull-out interventions did in fact make positive impacts on student achievement. In fact, a study done by Klinger and Vaugh found that the students preferred pull-out programs because it allowed them to be in an environment in which they were able to complete work that was not too hard as it is in their regular classroom. Another study compared the use of pull-out interventions and teacher-designed supplemental activities in which they discovered that students taking part in the pull-out interventions made slightly higher gains than students receiving the supplemental activities. So what does reading intervention look like in a typical elementary school? Plainview Elgin Millville is an elementary school in southeastern Minnesota housing preschool through third grade. Currently, PEM is in their third year of a reading intervention program. In Minnesota, schools or districts may apply for state and special education aid through a funding program known as Alternative Delivery of Specialized Instruction Services, or ADSIS. It is a yearly application process that provides part of the funding for school districts to implement a specialized reading intervention program. PEM ADSIS funding allows for the implementation of a pull-out program for students in kindergarten and first grade that is led by a licensed reading specialist. Students are assessed at the beginning of the year for the first time using the Formative Assessment System for Teachers, or FastBridge Learning Program. This assesses necessary skills needed for reading success, and any students falling at or below the 30th percentile are considered to be at risk and are recommended to receive intervention. Speaking with professionals from PEM schools, there were only positives to be said about the reading intervention program as well as pull-out programs. After interviewing Principal Jake Donzie, reading specialist Kari Donzie, and first grade teacher Mindy Scheel, it was found that feelings toward the reading intervention program were very similar, with small group targeted instruction being seen as the biggest benefit, with common goals of reducing the amount of special education referrals while making every student a successful at-grade level reader by the third grade. Parents also expressed positive attitudes toward the program, with one parent stating that while she sometimes wonders what her daughter is missing when she leaves the classroom, she likes that her daughter is getting the one-on-one attention she needs and that her daughter has more confidence since beginning the program. While sharing mostly positive benefits of the program, there were some concerns that were also expressed, including the need for more staff to provide one-on-one interventions, as well as creating a schedule that allows for students to be grouped based on the intervention required. Reading interventionist Kari Donzi said, "Sometimes you have a group of 3, and there are 3 different needs that should be addressed. Being able to effectively plan and implement 3 individual lessons at the same time is challenging and often impossible." At PEM, the teaching staff recognize the importance of communication between each other and parents. Reading specialists share their progress monitoring results with the principal in order to discuss how instruction and intervention can be adjusted. Both the classroom teacher and reading specialist keep up consistent communication throughout the year, more so if there are deeper concerns about a specific student. Parents also express interest in consistent communication with both the classroom teacher and reading interventionist. So, as Principal Jake Donzi put it takes a village to teach a child. This leads us to look at the big question: what is the impact of pull-out reading interventions? At PEM, there has been an improvement from those tagged at risk as K1 students to having more proficiency on their MCA reading test by third grade. They have also seen fewer special education referrals while at the same time exiting students from the program each year. This evidence, combined with the multitudes of research available, is enough for one to safely say that pull-out programs are in fact an effective style of intervention in elementary.